Research YouTube channel. Today's class will be learning how to make this beautiful overlap drape skirt. It's a very simple tutorial and it's beginner friendly. If this is something you would like to learn, kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Okay, so to make this overlap drape skirt, we'll need our basic skirt block first. My pattern is placed on fold. Okay, so this starting point here is going to double as my waistline. You can see that at this point. So from there now, I'm going to take my hip measurement. The hip line that I'm working with is 9 inches. I have 9 inches there. And the next measurement you need is your knee measurement. So this knee measurement, you don't take it exactly on your knee, so that the person can walk freely, especially if it's like a PC skirt that is not slitted. So my actual knee measurement is around 20 inches. So I like to go like 2 inches above that. So that was going to leave me with 18 inches. So I'm going to make all of this into a straight line. Okay, the waistline that I'm working with is 7 inches. That's 28 divided by 4. So I have 7 inches here. I'm going to add an allowance of 1.5 to that. The hip is 38 inches divided by 4 is going to give me 9.5, and then I'm going to add my allowance as well. So now on the knee length, depending on how fitted you want it to be, you can deduct 1 inch for 1.5 inches from your hip. Remember, the hip is 9.5. If I deduct 1.5, I'm going to be left with 8 inches, and if I'm deducting 1, I'll be left with 8.5. So I'm deducting 1.5 inches. So but you have to be mindful of what you're deducting, because deducting 1.5 inches, this is just half scale of the front. So now if you multiply that by 4, which is half scale, the other half scale for the front, remember we have 2 by the time we open it up for the front, and then we have another 2 for the back. So the 1.5 that you are taking into 4 places will give you 6 inches. So if you don't want to take too much, you can go with 1 inch, so that by the time you are done, you have 4 inches. So I added the allowance there, and I'm going to connect all of this together. So this is an A-line skirt, which means that it's not going to be straight down. Okay, so now the length of the paper that I'm working with is 12.5 inches. So I'm just going to exhaust it, but depending on how wide you want yours to be, you can add between 3 to 5 inches to your hip measurement to know the measurement that you're going to work with for the hem of your skirt. So now from there, I'm just going to connect it straight down to the hem of this paper, and then I'll cut this pattern out. So the skirt is cut now, and this is what it looks like. So at this point, before we do all the style lines that I want to draw at the front, you can use this pattern to cut out your back first. So usually this skirt comes like a mermaid skirt. Okay, so this is just an illustration. Your A-line should be bigger than this, but I'm just working with the pattern, that the size of the paper that I have. So this usually comes like a mermaid skirt, so you may want to consider adding a tail to the back part when you're cutting the back part. There are several tutorials on the channel already on how you can make your mermaid skirt. So the focus of this tutorial is just on the front. So now after cutting your back skirt, now you can now open it up to create the style lines that you want to use to cut out the front. Okay, so one side of this skirt is going to have drapes. Okay, so you need to choose that side that you want your drapes to be on. So for me, I think I just want the drapes to come like this. So now the first thing I'm going to note is the intersection point between the 2 slits. Okay, I want them to meet at a central point. So you need to determine that point that you want them to meet. It can be on the waistline, but for me now, it can be on the hip line or below the hip. So for me, I want it a little bit below the hip line. So I'm just going with around 12 inches to 12.5 inches. Okay, so which is around here. So now from my center front, this crease line here, I hope you can see it, that's the center front line. So from the center front, I'm going to measure like 2 to 3 inches to get that point. Okay, so I'm measuring like 2.5 inches, and then I'm going to be having the, which means all of my crisscrossing is going to happen on this point. So once we locate that point, I'm going to create the side with the drape first. So now the side with the drape is I'll go down by 2 inches for from my hip line. You can also maintain your hip line measurement, but it's better if you just go down. If it's 2 to 3 inches is fine. So I'm going down by 2 inches. So now after going down by 2 inches, I'm going to be using my free hand to connect from this point all the way to that intersection point. You can use a curve, but I'm just going to use my free hand. So once you get to that intersection point, then you connect it. Now we're going to move to the hem of the skirt. So for this side, it's not so opened. In fact, you can just take it down to your center line. This is the center line here. I hope you can see the crease line. So you can just take it down to your center line, or you can just measure like 1 to 2 inches from your center line. So I'm measuring like 1.5 inches, which is here, then from there, or 2 inches. So if you measure 2 inches, now I'm going to link this from here to that 2 inches mark with my free hand again. So just watch what I'm doing. I'm just trying to get a really nice curve there so that I can connect it. So once I get my curve, I'm going to make it bolder. Okay, so now the first side is done, and like I said, you can just maintain what you have here. So for the other side here, I'm going to come here from my waistline now, and then I'm going to go down by 6 to 7 inches. Okay, so once I have that point that I want, I'm going to link it from here to that remember, they have to meet at one point, which is what we created here. So from here now, I'm going to connect to that intersection meeting point again, like this. Okay, I hope you can see that. Then this side now is the open part, is more opened. Remember I said you can just connect this to your center front exactly, which is this, but if you want it open, you can just go down by 1 to 2 inches a bit like I did. But for this side, it's quite open. So from the center front here, I'm just going to measure around 5 inches. This is the center front. Okay, the center fold, that's our fold point. I'm going to measure like 5 inches. You can even measure more if you want it really open. And then from there now, I'm going to connect this to that 5 inches using my free hand. I hope we are not confused. Okay, so this is how the skirt is going to go. One is going to come from here like this, which is the bigger part, which we are going to drape, and the other one is going to come like this. So before I cut this out now, I'm going to bring in my fresh paper now and then trace out this side on my tracing wheel with my tracing wheel, so that I can cut the one that I'm going to drape. Okay, so now I just folded this back and I placed the other paper like this so that I can shape this side. So after shaping this side, I'm going to open out the paper and then trace out one side on this fresh paper so that I can cut the other side, because you know there is no way you're going to cut one that you're not going to enter into the other pattern. So in order for you not to lose it, I'm just going to trace out one before cutting out the other side. So now this is the part that I'm going to be draping. I'm just going to trace that out on this fresh paper using my tracing wheel. Okay, so I've traced it out now, and then I'm going to remove this paper. So once you remove the paper, you're going to see the lines that you have there clearly. So using my scissors, I'm going to cut out that dotted line. Okay, your tracing wheel is going to leave some dotted lines there for you. So now I'm cutting out following the dotted lines that I have. Okay, so I have one part of my skirt like this. So now the other part, which is the part that we're not going to drape, which is the one that comes like this. So now I can now cut it out. Okay. Now I'm cutting out this other side as well. So you can see how simple it is. Okay, so I've cut it out now. So this is the first side and this is the second side that we're going to drape on. So placing it on each other now, you can see what we have. So now to make this draping quickly now, you need to use the slash and spread method, which means we are going to be creating some style lines here. So depending on how much drapes you want, you create your line. So you can see me, I'm just drawing out my slash lines like this. So it can be slanted, it can be straight, depending how you want to introduce this volume. It's totally up to you. So now I'm going to draw like 4 to 5 style lines. I don't want it too much, but you can do as many as you want. So now I'm just drawing out these lines, and then you're going to slash and spread it on either another pattern, or you can also spread it directly on your fabric. So now you're going to be slashing it from here to this side, but when you get to this side, you're not going to slash it completely. You're just going to slash to the tip, enough for you to open it up. So I'm just cutting the lines like this all the way to the tip. You can see. So I have slashed open the lines now. So the next thing is for us to spread it out. So I'm going to bring in my fabric now and spread on it. I'm gonna have to spread it out on my fabric. As you can see, it was formally together like this, so I've gone to spread it. So I'm going to be spreading it by 3 inches. So after placing it like this, I'm going to open it up by 3 inches, and then I'm going to spread. Then take it again, open by 3 inches, and then I'm going to spread. So I'll spread them by 3 inches interval. Then I'll hold it with my pen before I go ahead to cut. So I'm going to spread them now and bring it back to show. So after spreading it now, the next thing is for you to connect all of them together like this, and then we are going to cut it out. So it's quite big, so I'm connecting it like this, and then I'm going to cut out this shape that I have. Okay, so this is what it looks like now. I've cut it out. So now to pleat it, I'm going to be pleating it directly like this before removing my paper. It's going to make it easier for me. So now what you just need to do now is to start bringing them back to their original space. Okay, so you can see what I'm doing now. So after placing it like this, I'm going to be holding it with my pin. Okay, so it's going to be easier for you like this before you remove your paper. So now you move the next one. Now you move it to this part as well, and then you're going to pin it down. So this one, you take it to this as well and you pin it down. So you can see that we're gradually getting back our original shape. You take this also, you take it like this, and then you pin it down. And then the last one, I'm going to take it to meet this as well, and then I'm going to pin it down. So you can see how I have pleated this back to its original shape. Okay, so now before removing my paper, I'm going to trim off the excess that I have here. Remember, I've already held it down with my pin. So I'll repin this inwards and then trim off whatever excess that you may have. So after this, now we are going to remove the paper and take it to the sewing machine to sew it together. So you can see how simple this is. So the next thing is to cut out the other side. The other side is simple, there is no drape, so you just need to place that paper on your fabric and then cut out exactly what you have there. Okay, so I've shaped it now. I'm going to remove my paper. So after removing the paper, this is what we have. You can see the drapes that you have there. So if you're going to be lining this now, you're going to use this to cut out your lining, or you can cut your lining with your paper. So you cut the lining without the drapes. You're going to cut the lining on your paper before you slash it to cut your drapes, so that you can use it to turn it out neatly. So I'm going to cut the other side now and place it so that you can see what it looks like. So I've placed the other one on my fabric now and I've cut it out. So this is what I have. So now the next thing is to arrange it. So the first one is going to be under like this. That's the one without the drape, and then I'm going to place the one with drape. Okay, so I've placed the drapes on it now. I can see the drape that we have. Okay, so bringing it closer now, you can see the drapes that we have formed. Okay, so you can see it like this now. So now I'm going to go ahead and sew the lower part to the upper part. You can see the lower part on the down part. So I'm going to pin it together now and sew it so that I can stitch them together. I'm also going to hold it together on the waistline, so you can see that we have the lower part under like this. So I'll stitch it together on the waistline and also the other side. So you can see the intersection point that we created, which is here, and then the opening gap that we have between the two of them. So I'll go ahead and sew this now. Okay, so I've sewn this now, you can see, and I just pinned it to the mannequin. Remember, the back part is not there, so all you just need to do now is to sew your back to it. And if you want to line this, you just cut it just like I explained, and then you line each part of the skirt separately before placing them on each other to sew. Or you can just turn the edges with a bias, or you just hem it in. So this is what the full view of the skirt looks like. You can see the opening that we have on the lower part, and then these are the drapes that will form. You can form as many drapes as you want. I hope you enjoyed making this beautiful tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe to our channel, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.